I low-key like just put my eggs all in one basket and hoped for the best. So I did only apply to UTA. Thankfully, I got accepted. I worked my butt off. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Saunya'e and I'm a second semester nursing student. This video is just going to be a Q&A. I asked you guys on my YouTube post any questions that you had that I could address in a video, and then I also asked you guys on Instagram to give me questions that you guys had that I could answer. Because whenever I comment back to y'all, I feel like my answers don't do justice, because I'm honestly not finna type a whole essay because I can keep going, but I just get straight to the point. So I feel like I can do a video and we can get more in depth, kind of. So I think I have my iPad right here. Let's see, I have about 15 or 16 questions. Let's get into the video. Okay, the first question is, who are you allowed to practice skills on that you learn? That answer is pretty simple. We practice our skills in the lab, but after that, you kind of on your own. So if you have a friend or a roommate, somebody in your clinical group, you can practice skills on them. Or even once you get in the hospital, I guess it technically is practicing on them, but you're doing the real thing. So you wanna, do as best as you can. But yeah, it's practicing skills on other people. It's really just whoever you want to do that on. Next question, someone said, can foreign students easily start from any nursing school in a university, or do they have to start in high school again? That question, from what I understand, it seems like, so basically if a foreign student comes to the United States but they've completed high school, then that's normally fine. Nursing school, like, admittance doesn't start until college, so as long as they're doing the prerequisites required for the nursing program, then that should be fine. Like, it's just prerequisites and then you can apply to the program. You don't have to restart high school. I hope that answered the question. The next question is, do you know how people can transition into travel nursing from being an RN? So when you're a travel nurse, of course, you're still an RN. But from what I know from other YouTubers and people on Instagram that I follow, you get about a year or two in experience and then you can travel. You go through an agency and do all of that jazz, and then you work as a nurse somewhere else. I don't know, it's simple. Transitioning, I can't really go into too much detail with that because I'm not a travel nurse yet. Next question is, what are some things that are good to be familiar with when going into nursing school? For this question, it is good to be familiar with your pathophysiology, and I would say that's number one. How everything works, what the manifestations in a patient is if they have such and such condition, because that's mainly what your classes are about. It's basically just pathophysiology but in nursing form, if that makes sense. And especially whenever you go to the hospital and you're doing your clinicals, your patients are the real deal and they are experiencing that pathophysiology that you learned. So it's good to be familiar with patho. It's also good to be familiar with your pharmacology. You take pharmacology, of course. For us, we took it before the program, but a lot of programs take it during. So it's good to be familiar with your medications, how they work, common side effects. Patient teaching is really important. You got to teach the patient what they need to know about that medication, and then I guess what the medication does, because whenever you're in the clinical setting, I hope y'all pass meds, and for us, we have to have our med sheets filled out to the T before we even think about scanning a medication to give to a patient, or else you're kicked out of the program. So pharmacology is really important. Something else I think would probably be anatomy and physiology, but that kind of ties into patho because you need to know A&P for patho, but if you know patho, then you know your A&P. So yeah, I think that's the top 3 things that you need to be familiar with whenever you're going into nursing school. Next question is, what helped you with A&P and how did you study for it? A&P was super hard. I took A&P 1 online because it was fall 2020 and that was the year COVID started. My professor was not the best, and it just came down to memorization. I got a C in that class. I got like a 76 or 77 in that class. So I didn't necessarily do good, but I guess what helped was Quizlet and literally writing notes directly from the PowerPoint, because after that it's like you either know it or you don't. Like A&P was pretty straightforward, but it's a lot of information that you have to know. A&P 2 I did get a B though, and that was better, and that was only because our instructor gave us more cushion to do better in the class, I guess. But in that class it was just a continuation of A&P 1, so I continued with taking my notes and doing Quizlets and stuff. And she also gave us study guides. That helped a ton because you kind of get an idea of what's going to be on the exam. So I think that's kind of why I did a little bit better. But yeah, that's basically how I studied for it. I should have did the whole teaching method thing, like where you basically speak your notes out loud because it helps you like retain the information. I didn't do that though. A&P 1 and 2 was a blur. That was my freshman year. I'm so happy it's over with. The next question is, I am a student at UTA and I wanted to know, how did you study for pharmacology? Girl, this might sound bad, but like low-key I didn't study. We got cheat sheets, and that was actually the first semester, or I think second semester. I don't know. We got cheat sheets for the exams, and literally I just wrote everything down on my iPad and printed it out on my cheat sheet, because you get a full blank page. And yeah, like I didn't really study. I guess writing the information helped me study because it's kind of like in my head, so that way each exam question I'm not just looking at the cheat sheet, so I kind of have a general idea. But that's pretty much it. I don't know. I will say Picmonic is helpful because I was using it for our psych medications, and Pixarize, but Pixarize is not free at all. You only get like one like trial run thing, and so, but Pixarize seemed to be really helpful whenever I used it for that one trial run. Not sure if that really helped, but pharmacology was super easy for me because we had the cheat sheet and I got an A. So the next question is, how is the transition from taking your prereqs to going to nursing school? I would say, I don't know, like nursing school is a little bit more extensive than your prereqs, but then again, the prereqs were hard. Like your micro, your biology, I took biology in high school, but your chems and like your A&Ps, those classes were like heavy, especially whenever you had 12 other credits that you were doing. Because for me, I took 16 credits my very first semester, and then it went down to 14 and then 12 and 12. But it was kind of like, it wasn't like a slap in the face. And I think it's probably because after my sophomore year, it was the summer, so I had like a break to kind of just refresh and then start nursing school, versus going from the fall semester to spring, like, you know, and you don't really have that much of a break. So the transition wasn't too bad. J1, which is the first semester of nursing school, was kind of, you just get used to like the workload and then see how you're see how you do with time management. I enjoy the aspect of nursing school being a bit tougher, but only because you're thinking like a nurse now. The next question is, how do you study? Low-key, like, I don't really have a study method that I've seen that just works for me. I don't know why I did air quotes, but yeah, I haven't really just found a study method for sure that I know is gonna get me good grades on the exams. But for the most part, I'll like write out well, I don't have an example, but on a sticky note, like for med surg, I'll write out all the chapters that are going to be on the exam. And then I don't even take notes anymore because it's like a waste of time and it's too much information. But I'll write down the chapters. Each chapter I go and do the test bank practice questions, Saunders test questions, and then I'll go through like the PowerPoint and look at the notes that she leaves in the actual PowerPoint and just read it and go through it. That's what I did the first exam. I didn't do too hot, but I did pass with flying colors. But the second exam, I actually took notes and did the exact same as the first exam. So I'm not doing that again for the third exam. And also I try to do like simpler nursing videos just to kind of simplify the information, just so I get like a general overview, because a lot of the stuff you learn in patho, but med surg is just like in depth. And I do the same thing for like my psych class, because it's just practice questions. And she actually gives us a review, and med surg gives us a blueprint, and I use that as well. But if they give you a blueprint or a review, do both of those. And yeah, that's pretty much how I study. The next question is, how can you prevent cramming at the last minute for exams? I'm struggling. Girl, I won't say I cram, because I don't wait until like the weekend before an exam that's just like on a Monday. But like I have an exam, my next exam is April 18th for med surg. Today is, so we're about 3-ish weeks away. I don't plan on looking at anything from that exam until like the second week of April, because like literally if I start looking at it now, it's just gonna be like in one ear and out the other, like literally. And I don't even go to class, don't be like me, but like I don't learn anything extra whenever I go to class, so I just don't go. But I prevent cramming by just making sure that I kind of get a gist of what's going to be on the exam, how many chapters, because if it's like 15 chapters, then obviously you're not going to want to wait until you only have 3 days to study, because I like to do like 3 chapters a day or something like that. So yeah, I try to at least the week and a half or so before the exam just get an idea of what the exam is going to be like, as far as like the blueprint and stuff or the chapters on it, and then kind of plan ahead on how I'm going to go about my studying days. And that's kind of like how I prevent cramming. Sometimes though, there's no other option but to cram, and that's perfectly fine, because you do what you got to do. So whenever you have to cram, just make the most out of your time, lock in, focus, and you should be fine. Like videos, practice questions, those are going to be your best friend. The next question is, was there ever times where you felt like changing your mind about becoming a nurse because of schooling? If so, how did you overcome it? Actually, no, I haven't changed my mind about becoming a nurse at all because of the schooling. And I think that's because to be a nurse, like with the Bachelor's of Science degree, it's just 4 years, and only 2 of those years is like the program. So it's 2 years prereqs and then 2 years the program. And like low-key, like 4 years is nothing. It's literally just going through high school again, but in college form. So that didn't like scare me away or anything. Like I was actually relieved that it was only 4 years and not like a master's degree or something like that. But if you do get that feeling, or you're thinking, oh, nursing is not for me, it's so much school and stuff, my advice for that is to remember why you even thought about becoming a nurse in the first place. And if that still rings true today, then stick to it, stay focused. I look at it as just a bump in the road, like, because once you're done, you get your degree and you start working, that's when the money start rolling in and you get to actually do something that you love, hopefully. So yeah. Next question is, I'm a nursing student who's starting in the fall. What study tips or methods do you recommend in nursing school and nursing school aids? So literally what I just said. Practice questions, videos on YouTube, and if they give you like a review for the exam or a blueprint, use those as much as you can. Specifically on YouTube, I recommend Simple Nursing, because like he breaking it down for you. Like yeah, I recommend Simple Nursing. That's mainly what I use. And I also watch sometimes Sarah RN, but her videos low-key be kind of long, so Simple Nursing is right to the point, so I recommend doing that. Next question is, how many schools or what schools do you recommend to apply to, or how did you go about picking your school for choice? I applied to one nursing school. I don't recommend doing this. I only did it because I didn't want to have to apply to multiple, because like you have to be accepted to the school and then you have to, like, it's just, I was like, I don't want to have to do all of that, and I really want to go to the one at my school. So I low-key like just put my eggs all in one basket and hoped for the best. So I did only apply to UTA. Thankfully I got accepted. I worked my butt off and it paid off. So as far as like recommendations that I recommend, I can't really recommend any because there's a lot of nursing schools around. And if anything, I would recommend mine because in Texas, we are ranked pretty high in nursing programs, as well as like a high pass NCLEX rate. So yeah. And as far as why I chose my school, aside from that reason, the school itself offered me enough money, financial aid, like whenever I was first admitted as a freshman. And so I was like, well, I might as well continue like my whole 4 years here. So that's really how I ended up at UTA as a freshman and now as a nursing student. The next question is, how do you balance completing assignments and going to clinical? J1, which is the first semester, we only have one clinical, and it was once a week. But like, you do have a lot of assignments, but what I recommend for J1 is to get really ahead. Clinical days, I don't do anything but go to clinical, come back home, and go to sleep. Like, I'm not doing, or you might have to submit like your clinical paperwork, but I'm not doing no extra assignments. So I recommend getting it done ahead of time, so that way whenever you have your clinical day, you have that whole day to just not do anything else after clinical. But now that I'm in J2, I did have, at first it was one clinical like during the week, and then it went to 2 for only like 3 weeks, which is psych. But I didn't really have like a problem balancing my assignments with clinical, only because like for psych clinical, you're done at 12, and then with med surg, it is a little longer. I don't do assignments whenever I come back from med surg, but it doesn't take up as much time as like you would think. I know every school is different. They have more clinical days in a week than we do, but right now I'm back to 1, and actually I only have like 2 clinical days left, so I'm super excited about that. Next question is, I believe you did a supply haul at one point. Is there any supplies that you purchased that you didn't use? Yes. And I'll probably do like a separate video on the things I didn't use from my supply haul, because there were quite a few things that I didn't use, but there were a lot of things that I did use, but it was like some of this stuff I could have saved my money. And it was more so because the school said we needed it and we really didn't. It's really just like to have just in case. But I'm gonna do a separate video on things that I don't recommend buying, like things you don't really need for nursing school. Next part of the question is, what about most used items that you recommend purchasing? For sure, you're going to need your stethoscope. It doesn't have to be a Littman. That's what I recommend because I love the sound in it. But Littman, whatever other stethoscope that you want to get, you're definitely going to need that. You're definitely going to need scrubs, of course. You're going to need a scrub jacket. I always wear my scrub jacket in the hospital. Like, I never take it off. You're going to need good, comfortable shoes because you may be on your feet a lot. Sometimes I sit down like half the shift, but you never know. Compression socks, for sure compression socks, because I don't know, they make your feet don't hurt as much. I don't know. You're gonna need that for sure. You're gonna need a clinical bag. You're going to need a good clipboard. I don't recommend the foldable one. I have the one that's like a storage container thing. I love that the most, especially because we get a lot of like clinical paperwork that we have to have and fill out and turn in. And then the last thing for sure, I don't want to say for sure, but like I like it. I use a stethoscope clip holder because I am not going to wear my stethoscope on my neck. Like, no. So yeah, off the top of my head, those are things for sure that you're going to need. And I'll probably address more of this in that video that I'll make about the things that you don't really need. But yeah, it looks like that was the very last question. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know a lot of y'all are starting nursing school soon, whether it be in the summer or in the fall, and I love that for y'all. I love that y'all are here supporting me, and I just thought I'd make a video answering some dying questions that y'all might have had before y'all start. So yeah, that is going to be the end of this video. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel, turn on my bell so that way you know when I post, and I will see y'all in the next one.